Four wheels, brakes, and a rear-mounted engine on an awkward chassis will bring all the eyes to a track 22 times this year. Yes, I speak about the most popular sports of this generation and the domain to which big money incessantly flows. Hello and welcome to Living for Business. Today, we are going to look at how do Formula One teams make money. No sport is as mysterious and enthralling as Formula One. With the staggering amount of money spent by teams, one has to wonder what is in it for these teams. Why are they spending so much? Is it just for the advertising value, or is there more? In this video, we try to uncover the mystery behind how Formula One teams bulk up tremendous money. Where does the money come from? On a quick look, F1 teams earn from prize money, funds arranged by the Formula One management, investment from parent manufacturers, sponsors, partnerships, and other arrangements. We will take a close look at each of these and see how much each team earns. But before we do, let's take a quick turn to another corner. What are the expenses for each F1 team? Where do they spend the money? F1 is a bit different from other sports. In F1 or any other motorsport, you don't pay to win, but you pay to compete. For any Formula One team, the expenses mainly come into four main categories. These are research and development, salaries, production, and operations. Research and development. Formula One is a speed game. To compete, you need to get one over your opponent. So, a huge chunk of money spent by the Formula One teams goes to research and development. R&D takes care of different processes like wind tunnel testing, track testing, and other forms of testing components. The plan is to get your car going as fast as possible while staying within the design and component usage boundaries of regulations. Reports say that a team spends as high as $58 million to $60 million on research and development every year. Salaries. Well, you know this one. To retain the best, you have to pay the best. Salaries are a big part of expenses for Formula One teams. In fact, Formula One drivers and team directors are among some of the highest paid in the sports industry. Please take a look at Lewis Hamilton for an immediate instance. In 2021, he took a whopping $50 million home. Apart from drivers, the teams must also retain top engineers, factory shop executives, car designers, and an efficient pit stop crew. One cannot compromise on paying any of these people because these people ensure that the car performs better in every race. Let's also talk about the money directors, CEOs, team principals take home every year. If a report from Essentially Sports is to be believed, Toto Wolff, the Mercedes team principal, easily earns around $10 million every year. We also have to take into account that Formula One employs the most number of people in comparison to any other sports industry. So, it is only natural to assume that its salary expenses are the biggest in this fashionable world of speed and thrill. Reports say that a team spends somewhere between $55 million to $58 million a year on salaries alone. And the figures from the top two teams, Mercedes and Ferrari, are not considered in this report. Production and manufacturing. For the F1 production team, there is one simple goal: to make the fastest car. For that, they must manufacture some of the fastest automotive beasts on the planet. A large chunk of their expenses happens in the production of the biggest component, the engine. Currently, only 4 engines are worthy of running in an F1 car, and those are Mercedes 1.6 V6 turbo engine, used by Mercedes, McLaren, Aston Martin, and Williams Racing. Ferrari 1.6 V6 turbo engine, used by Ferrari, Haas, and Alfa Romeo. Honda 1.6 V6 turbo engine, Red Bull Racing and AlphaTauri. Renault 1.6 V6 turbo engine, Alpine F1 team. Each of these comes with a handsome fee. Another track much money is burnt is in the case of crashes. Every time a crash occurs, no matter how big or small a component failure, the teams are forced to replace it. These components' cost varies wildly from close to $400,000 for a gearbox to upwards of $150,000 for front wings. To have backup components, costs fly even higher. Formula One has introduced a budget cap to control these costs, but even so, the costs just keep going up and up. For example, Mercedes spent over $400 million during their run to the 7th championship last season. Operations. Other than these three, these are the costs of running the operations. This includes logistics, freight, IT and technology, professional services, fuel, etc. On average, an F1 team spends about $50 million each season on operations alone. Where does the money come from? So, with all these expenses, how do teams make money? Well, get right into it. Fom Payments. The first and most important one is Fom Payments. That is the payments made by Formula One management to the teams. This is a bit tricky to understand, so let me make it simple for you. As division payment, every team that has been classified over 2 seasons will get $36 million. The prize money is the second biggest payment. Mercedes got $61 million as they won the title, while Williams got $13 million because they finished last. The next one is a bit tricky. LST, or long-standing team, is only given to Ferrari and accounts for around a whopping $68 million. It is also known as the Ferrari budget. Then there is the CCD, or Constructors Championship bonus. Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, and McLaren are the winners of these $35 million. It is basically for winning a load of titles. Other payments include a heritage payment of $10 million to Williams. Ferrari and Mercedes earned $35 million as they were the first to sign the Concord Agreement. Mercedes gets another $35 million for winning 2 titles and keeping its word to do so. Sponsors. Now let's look at the one that is more familiar to all of us. Almost all the F1 teams have attractive sponsorship deals. For example, Petronas reportedly pays $42 million to Mercedes, and that is revenue from one deal. Normally, a team has around 15 to 25 sponsors, and they pay handsome money to get their logo on the car. For sponsorships, there is only one rule. The better your team performs, the more marketable you are. Investment. You must be familiar with this as well. Usually, the parent company of the teams injects a handsome amount of money into the team to see them perform well. For example, in 2019, Daimler, the parent company of Mercedes, paid $80 million to the team, but this amount depends on the parent company, so the amount might vary vastly, as in the case of Racing Point, who paid only $25 million to their team, Aston Martin. Normally, for the teams, the investment is at least a quarter of all revenue the teams earn. Driver-linked income. This is the least popular income stream for any team, and teams only take it when they are so desperate for money. Basically, with this, the driver pays the team to participate in the race. For example, in 2017, Lance Stroll paid Williams $30 million to drive their car. Fans hate this stream because it gives an unfair advantage to rich drivers, and often talented drivers are swept aside because of this. Is this enough? Now you have heard how money is spent and how much teams earn. Are you wondering, is this enough? Let's have a closer look. In 2019, on their way to the 7th championship victory, Mercedes spent an astounding $425 million on various expenses from R&D, manufacturing, testing, and the paycheck of their star driver, Lewis Hamilton. Now, if you look at their revenue, you would see that they got $180 million from the FOM. As said earlier, an $80 million payment was received from Daimler, and sponsorship deals from Petronas and other companies account for a total of $160 million revenues. Taking all that into account, you would see that the team's numbers are still in the red at around $5 million. So taking all this into account, why do people invest in a sport where even the champions can't break even? Here is your answer. For many F1 teams, including Mercedes, Renault, and Ferrari, the teams provide a perfect marketing platform to show the world they are the best in the business. This in turn becomes massive profits later. After all, Formula 1 is a sport followed by over 425 million people. So what better way to reach the masses than that? So that's it. The mystery is solved. We hope you liked it, and we will see you in the next video.